not something you could prove one way or another, but it's as interesting an idea as we've heard. Thanks, Athena.
We're using technology.
Yeah, we got you. Understand. I wish we could prove it one way or another. Thanks for the call. East of the Rockies, Mike in West Palm Beach. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, how you doing? I want to tell your listeners the Bermuda Triangle is live and well. I live in West Palm Beach, which is at the apex of the triangle. And if you go to Google, look up the following: Florida, missing or disappearing swimmers. Every so often a person drowns, of course, a tourist. They find the bodies later. Two recent cases got the attention of the press, though. One was a Israeli millionaire disappeared off his yacht, who was parked right near Fort Lauderdale. Never found his body. Then there was another one a few months ago that really got people where I live upset. There was a girl who was going out in the water, got caught in a riptide, and was screaming for help. A man jumps in front of dozens of witnesses, saves the girl, and he disappears. They never found his body. That really got the press's attention. Another issue was this. Every few weeks, an empty boat comes ashore here. And these are from illegal immigrants. And the assumption is they come in the beach and they run inland. But the problem is nowhere for them to go. Because these are condos on the beach. Rush Limbaugh lives here. You got tremendous police patrols. They never report what happened to these people. All they report is these boats keep coming in every few weeks. They're empty, and there's no one around. And there's another issue, too. But, I live with the Bermuda Triangle. The press doesn't mention anything. They don't give follow-up stories about these boats and what's going on.
Okay, Mike, we're going to give Dave a chance to talk about that. Dave, you mentioned earlier you try to weed out cases involving water, I guess, because you have to draw a limit somewhere, but that's pretty interesting stuff.
You know, he brought up an interesting point that I've never talked about publicly, but about 3 weeks ago I got a letter from a man in Finland who had gotten my books, and he'd done some research on his own, and that in my missing East and West books, he found that on one day where two kids disappeared, a plane disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, and then he found that another plane disappeared in Lake Erie or Lake Michigan that was a Navy plane, and that was in correlation to one of the disappearances in one of the books.
Appreciate the call, Mike. West of the Rockies, Reba in Washington, which, as we learn in this new volume of Missing 411, is a hotbed of these kinds of cases. Reba?
Yes, hello there. I have three areas that I'm kind of curious about. I do rock hounding, and I'd like to know if there have been any of these disappearances around the Lolo Pass, Montana area, or the Red Top Mountain area northeast of Cle Elum, Washington, or the Colville National Forest.
So I would say that anywhere in that Washington Cascade corridor, there's been disappearances, unusual disappearances. And so I would say, as I've told everyone that I speak in front of, that I wouldn't hike alone, number one. I wouldn't go into the woods without a firearm, and I wouldn't go into the woods without a personal locator beacon. I've never taken a case where somebody's disappeared that was armed and had a locator beacon. There's been people that have disappeared under the criteria that have been armed, and there's been one person that disappeared under the criteria that had a locator beacon, never with both.
She also asked about...
I'm going to take that under advice.
She asked about Montana, Dave. I know you do have a section in the new book that talks about cases from Montana.
Yes, and it's lengthy, and there's a lengthy section in the Western book as well. I mean, when you have 600 cases, I just can't remember them all.
Sure, I understand. First-time caller, Alan in Texas. Hi, Alan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, George. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah, one afternoon, I left out of Reno, Nevada, heading towards Portland, Oregon, and I'm a truck driver, and I was bobtail, and the weather seemed to deteriorate, and I was on California 89 and stopped at a rest area and went to bed on Friday afternoon, Saturday early morning, and I have a computer